I'm very glad to be here with you again and to think about our emotions in the philosophical field. And again, I apologize for my English. Maybe I'll do some mistakes during the video. I'm so sorry about that. And I'm improving day by day. I'd like to speak about freedom, and it's not an easy topic. But it's a very important topic when we study our affects, because what we can ask to ourselves when we study our affects according to Silvan Tomkins is, do we are free? Do we have freedom? Because we feel shame, disgust, smell, distress, fear. Can we be free from fear? Can we be free from shame? Can we be free from disgust, from the smell? Or what can we do about it? And in a philosophical point of view, yes, freedom exists. Freedom from our human condition. In a way, we can decide, we can choose what we really want and define our aims and try to follow them in the best way. And Silvan Tomkins is also a philosopher. I said also because it's a big researcher. He has a huge knowledge in psychology. So, well, in a first part, I'd like to see how he defines this freedom question. Him who study affect so much. He said the freedom of a feedback system, we argue, should be measured by the product of the complexity of its aims and the frequency of their attainment. And in philosophy, our aims are very complex, because our aim is the other. In the ethic direction, the aim is the other comes first. And that's very difficult for a child to understand, because he is in a manner self-centered to his biological needs, and he needs that in order to survive. So it is this moment when the mother, instead of feeding herself, feeds the kid first and then feeds herself. And it's this moment when we prefer the other to ourselves, and we said, okay, you come first. And Vladimir Yankelevich, in Le Paradoxe de la Morale in France, was very explicit when he said la préférabilité inconditionnelle d'autrui. So that means I unconditionally prefer the other to myself. So this aim is very complex, very hard to achieve. André Gide says la porte étroite. It's a narrow door. It's very hard to think not in being interested in ourselves, but to find joy in being interested in the other, in a way to be disinterested. That doesn't mean that you are without interest. Without interest is a kind of depression. You're not interested in anything, you're depressed. You are interested, yes, but you are interested in the other and in making him happy before making yourself happy. And it's quite a contradiction, a paradox. And so a human being first becomes freer as he wants grows, and the capacity to satisfy them grows. Restriction, either his wants or abilities to achieve them, represents a loss of freedom. So the ability to reach my ethical goals represent, and the ability to satisfy them represents a gain of freedom in the ethical field. If I'm able to, part of my day, dedicate my life to help the others, to participate of the evolution of the society, to give what I receive of culture, knowledge, or affection to the other, to exchange, to offer, to have generosity, well, then I have a gain in freedom. But that's very hard. It's very hard to prefer the other to yourself. It's what we call agape in philosophy. That means that unconditional love, and what I consider true love. And it's not even reciprocal. You don't expect anything back when you give your love in that manner. Is the simple fact of giving it fulfills you. So it's not very biological, that it's cultural, that kind of behavior. Because if I follow my biological needs, my basic instincts, I'll be interested in myself first and not in the other first. So it's a complex aim, right? And so Tomkins says the human being is the most complex system in nature. For sure, we are very complex, because this aim, the other come first, this generosity is humanity, and it's very different from being selfish, being egocentric, being self-centered, being self-interested. And he said his superiority over other animals is a much a consequence of his more complex analytical capacities, because to be interested in the others is to understand that we are interdependent, and what I do to the other will have a consequence on my own life in all the levels of this life. So out of the marriage of reason with affect, there's issues clarity with passion. Reason without affect would be impotent, and affect without reason would be blind. The combination of affect and reason guarantee man's higher degree of freedom. So that's very interesting. But how do we match affect with reason? And there we have a very interesting tool of Dr. Brian Lynch, who wrote a book in Knowing Your Emotions, and in this book he describes the way you can work on yourself with your affects. And he says you can, when you feel shame, for instance, you can try to define the problem, evaluate the problem, understand what you can do about it, solve the problem, control the problem. But it's very important to, in the first step, define the problem. Then evaluate the problem, then find out what you can do about it, and then control the problem. That means that you are able to know your emotions, to know your affects, to know your feelings, and not simply feel and act, but feel, think, evaluate, and act. And it's the path of freedom. But it's a very tough path, because that means that we are going to know our emotions, that we are going to dialogue about our emotions, and that we are going to think about them well and understand why they are causing us so much trouble. Is this direction, this philosophical direction, the unconditional preference of the other, the right direction? I wonder sometimes. I say, well, it's out of balance. If the other comes first and me, what happens with me? I have to take care of myself, to take care of the other. In a plane, you say, put your oxygen mask first, then you put the oxygen mask in the kid. So there is a paradox in our philosophical field, but at the same time, we keep on transmitting generation through generation this very, very high degree of freedom of our civilization, of our culture, that is to think that the other should come first. And, you know, it's like the Himalayas. You can't climb the Himalayas in one day. It takes a lifetime to learn to climb this mountain. And it's a very, very hard way to go. Ethic is the same. You learn a little bit of being interested in the other. Well, today I did something for the other. 5 minutes. I gave 10 minutes of my day. I gave 1 hour of my day. Well, I was able to dedicate my whole day to the other. That's very beautiful. Some people do dedicate their day to the others, and sometimes 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, and it's too much. I mean, it's almost out of balance, because we have to think that we must take care of ourselves to take care of the others. But don't forget this complex aim of ours that we have, and in my next video I will try to understand the impediments of freedom. But yes, indeed, Tomkins considered that we can be free, and we can be free when we match emotions and reason, affects and reasons, and that's a kind of perfect match, hard match, tough match, a life match. And it's a very interesting topic. Thank you very much for your attention, and see you.